Good morning. This is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Briefing for Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. This map of the Great Basin fire activity shows ongoing or planned prescribed fires across much of Nevada up into Idaho and Utah. The ventilation rates are not very great right now with this fairly stagnant air, so I don't know how that will affect the operations of these prescribed fires, but definitely some plans out there. Precipitation for the past 7 days is shown on the left. It's been a very dry stretch here for the first part of January or into the middle part of January with no precipitation recorded in the last 7 days. And the past 14 days, percent of normal shows a continuation of that dry pattern, much below normal precipitation across the entire Great Basin. Let's take a look at the snow comparing 2020 January or today in 2026 with today in 2025. There are a few spots that are doing decently well compared to last year, especially most notably western Wyoming and some of the higher peaks of central Idaho. But there are quite a few differences here as well, mostly the mid and lower elevations of Idaho and Utah, where we're just not seeing the snow. We can kind of compare even the Owahis, there's just no snow out there. The southern Idaho mountains here, very little snowpack this year. Northeast Nevada's is seeing much less snow than normal, and of course the mid to lower elevations of the Wasatch Mountains as well. So not great compared to where we were last year or history. Again, along the Sierra front, some of those peaks are actually doing a little bit better compared to this time last year. So a few little spots that are doing okay. If we look at the current snowpack compared to average here, kind of telling the same story. The best values, the highest values compared to normal are going to be over western Wyoming, where the snowpack is sitting close to average. The central Idaho mountains, also a few spots there that are closer to average. But southern Idaho is much lower. And then, of course, across much of Nevada and Utah, those values are going to be mostly below the 60th or 70th percentile across the area. And then right along the Sierra front, those values are a little bit higher than we saw this time last year, but still hovering a little bit below normal. Satellite imagery this morning is showing generally dry northwesterly flow that's keeping our temperatures cool, near average for the time of year, but dry. We do have this little low off the Southern California coast that will be moving in over the next few days, bringing some precipitation to the southern parts of the Great Basin, limited precipitation to the southern Great Basin. Again, for today, we've got dry northwesterly flow in place across much of the basin, and then this low off the California coast beginning to make its way inland. Ventilation rates are very poor across the area with fairly stagnant air. Light winds are in place across the Great Basin today. A little bit higher winds over western Wyoming and on the lee side of the northern Wasatch Range here. Otherwise, generally light winds, and mixing heights are very low today as well. No precipitation is expected today, and maximum temperatures again are hovering around normal or slightly above normal for the time of year, with highs mostly in the 40s across Utah, 30s in Idaho, and a little bit warmer in Nevada with highs near 50. On Thursday, we'll continue to see that low moving inland over Southern California, bringing some cloud cover to the southern Great Basin. Ventilation rates still staying pretty low. Winds are still on the lighter side even as this low starts to move in. And we'll see low mixing heights as well continuing on Thursday. Precipitation still evades us on Thursday. Minimum temperatures are on the cooler side, or remaining cool overnight, freezing overnight across much of the geographic area, a little bit warmer over far western and southern Nevada and southern Utah. But there's a lot of cold air to our north and east over Montana and the Dakotas. So we'll take slightly milder temperatures here. On Friday, the low finally brings some moisture up into the southern Great Basin, and we'll see the precipitation moving in on Friday. Ventilation rates improve a bit. We'll see wind speeds picking up somewhat as that low moves to the south, and that improves our mixing heights as well somewhat, improving our ventilation rates a bit. On Friday, again, the precip is going to be mostly coming to the mountains of southern Utah. Southern Nevada will see some very isolated showers. The Arizona Strip will stay on the drier side as well. Maximum temperatures aren't affected too much. Still seeing those highs in the low 50s, 40s, and up into the 30s in Idaho. So the 3-day precip, again, just showing that precip coming into mainly southern Utah on Friday. The forecasted clearing index for the next couple of days, no surprise, is very poor with the light winds and stagnant air for today. Tomorrow, we do see some improvement on Friday, especially across the south with those increasing wind speeds as the low moves through. On Saturday, that low continues to track across the southwest. We'll still see cool northerly flow, ventilation rates improving across Utah and Nevada, slightly lower across Idaho. And then by Sunday, we're back to a dry pattern. Again, generally northerly flow, stable atmosphere out of the north, ventilation rates beginning to decrease again across the north and west. And then that kind of takes us into Monday. Still generally dry northerly flow, decreasing ventilation rates area-wide. Generally a similar story on Tuesday. We just can't get much of a pattern change across the west with generally high pressure in place and poor ventilation. Precipitation for days 6 and 7. This is taking us into the end of the work week. This current model shows a little bit of precip coming into Idaho towards the end of that period. But I don't know, it may be pushed back a little bit more towards like the Friday, Saturday timeframe of next week. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And then the 7-day total, again, showing short-term precip on Friday, and then maybe some precip coming to our northern areas next week, midweek to late week. Forecast from the Climate Prediction Center doesn't offer us too much hope. This is the forecast for the end of January heading into the first part of February. It's calling for above normal temperatures across much of the western U.S., especially over the Great Basin, and generally below normal precipitation as well, especially over Utah, eastern Nevada, up into southeast Idaho, and western Wyoming. So there's a chance we could see a little bit of precip maybe making it into western Idaho. We'll hold on to that, but otherwise not a great forecast as we head into our main snow-making period of the year. So we'll see. There are a few scenarios that could still bring us some good precipitation as we head into the late winter and the spring, but we're not really seeing what those look like just yet. That concludes today's briefing. Please check back on Friday for the latest updates.